Hello students, in the last topic we have discussed regarding the plasma membrane extensions. We have done with the inclusion bodies and we have seen regarding the flagella, fimbriae and other structures, gas vacuoles that are present inside the prokaryotic cell. And now we have only two components left here. One is the ribosome and the other is the DNA. So both this we will be trying to finish in this topic. Or else I will be doing ribosome first and later I will be discussing with the DNA. Let's see. So ribosome. What is ribosome? Ribosome, this is known as protein factory of the cell. Ribosome is also known as protein factory of the cell. So where is the ribosome here? I have given the ribosome here in the picture. If you see, these are ribosomes, children. They are grouped together. If you observe in the picture, I have given a group of ribosomes. They are present at the plasma membrane and they are present together like a group. We call such ribosomes as polysomes or polyribosomes. This term is given in NCERT book, children. Yes, polysomes or polyribosomes means these are nothing but the ribosomes which are present in a group. Is known as the polysome or a polyribosomes. Okay, this is ribosome. Okay, ribosomes are known as protein factories of the cell. Why they are known as protein factory of the cell? Because they are helping in protein synthesis. They help in protein synthesis. The main function of the ribosome is to produce proteins inside the cell. There are thousands of proteins that are present inside a single cell. Okay, if you take the case of the whole body, we have millions of different type of proteins are present inside an organism. Here, all these proteins, they will be produced inside the cell cytoplasm with the help of an organelle, which is a non-membrane bound organelle. It doesn't have any membrane, and this organelle, it is producing the proteins. Okay, so this is non-membrane bound organelle. Okay. So what is ribosome? It's a non-membrane bound organelle and this is meant for protein synthesis inside the cell cytoplasm. Organelle. Then what this ribosome is made up of? Ribosome, it is made up of RNA and protein. Just like a protein, just like a fat molecule, RNA is also a macromolecule, a biomolecule. This is a shortcut, children. What is the full form of RNA? RNA means ribonucleic acid. What is RNA? Ribonucleic acid. It have a special sugar which is known as ribose sugar. Because of the presence of ribose sugar, this is known as ribonucleic acid. So now you can see the ribosome, it is a complex organelle which is made up of only two type of macromolecules. One is the ribonucleic acid and other is the protein. It doesn't have any membrane. If you see in the picture, I have given these are RNA molecules and there are some proteins inside. Okay, so these are the only two molecules that are making up this ribosome. Over this ribosome and non-membrane bound organelle. Now, coming to the types of ribosomes. These ribosomes, they are of two types. Two types of ribosomes are available in the cells. And what are the two types of ribosomes? We have two types of ribosomes present inside the cell cytoplasm. One is 70S ribosome and the other is the 80S ribosomes. 70S ribosomes are the characteristic feature of prokaryotes and 80S ribosomes are characteristic feature of eukaryotes. Generally, all the prokaryotic cells, they have the 70S type of ribosomes and all the eukaryotic cells, they have 80S type of ribosomes. And now, coming towards complete structure. So let us see how the ribosome will be present inside the cell cytoplasm. Okay. So this is not a membrane, remember, just to show you the shape, the globular shape I have drawn this, children. This is completely the RNA which is forming a globular particle. Okay, this is RNA. There is no membrane over the ribosome and we have certain proteins inside. Okay. Now, what you can see in this figure? Yes, I have drawn two subunits. So how is the ribosome? Ribosomes are present as subunits. These ribosomes are present as subunits. What are the subunits? This complete ribosome, it is known as 70S. The complete ribosome is known as 70S ribosome. And these two subunits, we have two subunits in the 70S ribosomes. One is larger and the second one is the smaller. So we have two subunits, larger subunit and the smaller subunit. And these subunits are detachable. They can be separated from each other. When they are present together, they are known as 70S, but when they are detached from each other, the larger subunit of 70S ribosome is known as 50S. What it is called as? 50S. And the smaller subunit, when it is detached from the complex ribosome or the whole ribosome, we call it as 30S. Okay. So this is the structure, the 70S ribosome in prokaryotes. It is having two subunits. What are the two subunits? Larger subunit and the smaller subunit. When they are present together, we call them as 70S. And when they are detached, each subunit is named differently. Larger subunit is known as 50S and smaller subunit is known as 30S. In the same way, we have for eukaryotes. Eukaryotes again have this ribosome. The whole ribosome, it is known as 80S. Yes, I have told you before, 80S ribosomes are present in the eukaryotic cells. So all the higher organisms, the eukaryotic organisms, they will be having this 80S ribosomes. And again the same story. The 80S ribosome, when it is complete, we call it as 80S, and it has two subunits. This is larger and this is smaller subunit. And when they are detached, the larger subunit, it is known as 60S, and the smaller subunit, it is known as 40S. Is it clear for you? The larger 50S, smaller 30S for 70S ribosomes in prokaryotes. The larger 60S, the smaller 40S for 80S ribosomes in eukaryotes. Okay. So this is the structure of the ribosome. Then now, you may be having a doubt regarding this S. What is this S? And why this number is given, that we will be discussing. Okay. So here we use an alphabet which is known as S. This is not an alphabet, it's the unit of the ribosome that is given. And S here stands for Swedbergs. The unit that is given, the unit for ribosome, it is given as S, and this S stands for Swedberg after the scientist Theodore Swedberg. Okay. Then what is this unit and how this unit has given to this ribosome, that we will be discussing in detail. Okay. So here, any biomolecule, today we are discussing with ribosomes, we have certain inclusion bodies. Each and every particle of the cell, when it has to be studied, what we have to do, children, we have to separate them, and then we will be taking them to the microscope for observation, right? Then how this separation is done? The biomolecules, major biomolecules in biology, they are mainly separated by a technique which is known as centrifugation. So in order to separate the biomolecules inside the cell, certain biomolecules, chemical molecules or organelles inside the cell, we use a technique. We use a technique which is known as centrifugation. This centrifugation technique, it is performed by using a bioinstrument which is known as centrifuge. The machine or the instrument we are using, it is known as centrifuge, and the technique is the centrifugation. Okay, so here so the bioinstrument used for centrifugation is the centrifuge. Then what is the importance of this centrifuge? Let me simplify this for you. We all know that the particles, when they are present inside the liquid medium, they have a tendency to get settled down at the bottom after some time, right? So they will be settling at the bottom of the liquid medium after some time. We call this process as sedimentation. Sedimentation is a natural phenomenon. It is seen in the particles. The lighter particles will stay on the upper surface and the heavier particles, they will reach the bottom, right? This is known as the sedimentation. And in the same way, in order to separate these particles based upon their size, shape as well as the volume, these particles will be separated with the same principle, that is also the sedimentation. Yes, every particle will have its own sedimentation ability. But the sedimentation which is occurring naturally, it is a very slow process. So in order to fasten up this process, we use the technique of centrifugation. Is it clear now why we are using this technique, children? In order to fasten up this process of sedimentation, we use a technique called centrifugation. So let us now see how the centrifugation is done and how is this instrument is operated. We'll be seeing certain details of it. So let us say this is centrifuge, and if you observe, we have a circular, what you can say, this is a circular path where the rotation is taking place, okay, and this is known as a rotor. The lysate or the sample that has to be used for analysis or used for the separation of organelles, they will be taken inside the test tubes. And all these test tubes are loaded into this conical shaped tubes. These conical shaped tubes are present inside. I have given the test tubes, children. So the test tubes are present inside the conical shaped tubes, and all these test tubes are kept inside them, and you will give the power supply. Then what will happen? The rotor, it will be rotating in a circular path at a high speed, and due to this rotation, due to this external force, the sedimentation will be faster. Okay, the particles, you have the test tube, and inside the test tube we have the lysate. Okay, we have the lysate here. So what will happen at higher speed, all these particles, they will be moving around inside the test tube, and after certain amount of time, all these particles, based upon their size, shape and the mass, due to the gravitational force, they will be settling at different ranges. And this is nothing but the centrifugation. Then what is the external force that is given here? We have the centrifugal force. When it is rotating in a circular path, which force is acting, children? The centrifugal force. So the external force that is applied here is the centrifugal force. So this is the centrifugal force. Okay. And what is the another force which is acting upon the particles? The gravitational force. Towards the Earth's surface, we have the gravity. Okay, gravitational force. So these are the two major forces that are acting upon the particles or cells, or you can say the cell organelles present inside this sample. Because of this external force, the rate of sedimentation will be faster. Okay, so how the sedimentation rate is being increased here? By the application of the centrifugal force as well as the gravitational force. Even in natural sedimentation we have gravitational force, but here due to the application of the centrifugal force, here the process will be faster. Okay, process will be faster. So this total process of centrifugation, it is dependent upon a term called sedimentation coefficient. Okay, so this is the centrifugation. What is the principle of centrifugation, children? The principle of centrifugation is the sedimentation coefficient, and the sedimentation coefficient is again in turn dependent upon, it depends upon mass. So it is in turn dependent upon mass, shape and density of the particle. Okay, so here the sedimentation coefficient, it is in turn dependent upon three major factors: mass, shape and density of the particle. Then tell me, if the mass is more, if the mass is greater, the shape is big and it is dense in nature, generally they will sediment faster. Okay, so increase in mass, shape as well as density, what they will do? They will sediment faster. And if in comparison, if the particles having the mass, shape and density, if they are low, they will be sedimenting, the sedimentation will be slow. The sedimentation will be slow. So increase in mass and size, mass, shape as well as the density, it makes the particles to sediment faster. And if they are lighter in weight, they will be sedimenting slowly, or they will be present in the upper cell fraction. Okay, so the particles inside the test tube, will be sedimenting. The heavier particles will sediment first, and the sediment that is present at the base in the test tube, we call it as pellet. What it is called as, children? Pellet. Pellet is nothing but the sediment which is present at the bottom of the test tube. After running the centrifuge, some of the particles having heavier weight, they will reach the bottom of the test tube, and this portion is known as pellet. And the cell fraction which is having the lighter particles which are floating on the upper surface of the test tube, they are known as supernatant. It is known as supernatant. The particles present on the upper surface of the test tube is known as supernatant, and the particles present at the bottom of the test tube is known as the pellet. Okay. Now, what we will do? We will simply apply this principle to the size of the ribosome. Okay. So I have told you that ribosomes are two types, 80S and 70S. In prokaryotes we have 70S type of ribosomes. Okay. And in eukaryotes we have 80S type of ribosomes. Let us say this is test tube. So how the sedimentation will be taking place, that we will see. I have told you that when the ribosome is a complete ribosome, we call it as 70S ribosome, because it will be having both the subunits, larger as well as the smaller subunit. Okay, and this is heavier compared to its detachable units. What are the detachable units here? We have two subunits in 70S. One is 50S and the other is 30S. Okay. So when the centrifugation is done, what could be the place of each of the subunits, that we will be showing in a small diagram, children. So let us say this is test tube, and inside the test tube, which one is heavier out of these three? Which one is heavier? Yes, it is 70S. Why? Because it is bigger compared to the detachable units. It's a complete ribosome like this. Okay, and here the 70S will be present at the bottom. Then what about this 50s and 30s? They are lighter compared to the 70s, right? And this lighter ones that will be present here. Let us say this is 50s and this is 30s. Okay? So 50s is in comparison, this will be little heavier compared to 30s, so it will be present at the bottom. And in comparison with 70s, it will be lighter, so it will be present in between. And 30s at the top level in the supernatant, and the 70s in the pellet section. Okay. So why these ribosomes are like this? I have told you in cell, the ribosomes can be like a complete ribosome, or it can be like a detachable ribosomes. The free subunits are also present around the cell cytoplasm, as well as the complete ribosomes are present inside the cell cytoplasm. And hence when you separate these organelles, we will get three type of fractions, that is complete ribosomes, they will be present at the bottom, and we have 50s and also 30s. All of them are separated. So individually you can extract them and you can study them under the microscope. In the same way with the 80s ribosome, we have the 80s portion here. And what are the two subunits I have told you, children? The two subunits of 80s ribosomes are 60s and the 40s. Okay, here S means Swedberg units, that is rate of speed of the particle inside the centrifuge is given as the Swedberg unit. Okay, so it is mainly dependent upon the speed of the particle in the the centrifuge at the particular time. It is known as the Swedberg. And the Swedbergs, now we have discussed with the Swedbergs. So that is the Swedberg. And next we will see, I have written this, STS and 40s. So the most important thing that you have to remember, these subunits, they are non-additive in function. You cannot add these subunits. If you add 60 plus 40 is 100, you cannot add it like that. Because I have told you now, this is mainly based upon the centrifugation techniques. The marking is given. These are non-additive in function. Okay, so these are non-additive. This is the most important point you have to remember. In the same way, 50, 30 it will give 80, but it is not 80, 70. But these are non-additive in function. You cannot add these units. These are separate for each particle based upon the rate of speed of the movement. Okay, so that is the most important thing. In order to discuss or in order to explain this S, I have told you the whole technique. Okay, so that there will be no confusion in the later sessions. Yes. Next, we have finished with the ribosome. So next we will be discussing with the function of the ribosome. We all know the function of the ribosome. I have told you that is the protein synthesis. Then how this protein synthesis is taking place inside the cell cytoplasm. We will see the overview. That is, we are not going into the deeper details of this protein synthesis. We will be seeing it superficially. We will be seeing the overview of the protein synthesis. We will learn the complete procedure in the second year. In your +2, you will be learning regarding the protein synthesis and its complete functioning, that we will see later. Okay. So first we will see the overview of the cell performing protein synthesis with the help of ribosomes. Process of protein synthesis. Yes. Now, can you tell me how these ribosomes are producing proteins? There is something which is acting behind the scene. Which is acting behind the scene, children? We have a master copy which is present inside the cell cytoplasm. Can you guess that? Yes, it is DNA. What is this DNA? We'll be learning regarding this DNA and everything, the structure regarding DNA we will be discussing in the next session. So the DNA, the master copy, which is the hereditary material, it will be giving guidelines to the cell organelles, right? So each and every function performed by the cell, it is mainly dependent upon the guidelines given by the DNA. So this is a master copy, children, and this will dictate the terms, and that has to be performed by the cell organelles as well as the cells. Then how it is dictating? So DNA, it is like a king here. and all the organelles present inside the cell cytoplasm, they are acting like soldiers, right? Soldiers. The king will be dictating. He is not in the scene directly. He will be dictating, and the soldiers will be performing there. And different group of people, they will be performing the duties assigned by the DNA. In the same way, by the king. In the same way, the DNA here, it will be assigning certain duties to the cell organelles, and all these cell organelles will be performing the duties based upon their functions. Okay, now let us see. We will talk regarding the DNA and the ribosome. Let us say DNA is the king and the ribosome here is the soldier. Then what duty it will be assigned? We all know ribosomes are helpful in the protein synthesis. So many proteins are produced inside the cell cytoplasm, and all these proteins are produced by the single organelle, efficient organelle, that is the ribosome. So let us say that this is DNA molecule, and DNA molecule, it is present inside the cell cytoplasm like this. Okay, and this DNA, it is dictating terms to the ribosomes to perform protein synthesis. And in this fashion, there are two major steps in the formation of protein that we are going to discuss now. So DNA, it will pass a message to the ribosome to perform the protein synthesis. So I have told you that DNA, it is king. It is like king here, and the ribosome we have compared with the soldiers. And how the message is passed? The DNA has passed this confidential message to the ribosome through a mediator, and this mediator here, it is known as RNA. Okay, so here what it will form, children? RNA. The message for the information for the formation of protein is present with the DNA. Then whenever there is a need for that particular protein, the DNA will be activated and it will be sending the signals or information to the ribosome with the help of a mediator, and this mediator is known as RNA molecule. As this RNA molecule is acting like a messenger, we call this as mRNA. What it is known as, children? mRNA. As the RNA molecule, it's also a chemical molecule, a biomolecule, and this RNA molecule, it is acting like a messenger. It is carrying the information given by the DNA to the ribosome, and hence, as it is acting like a messenger, we call this RNA molecule as mRNA, that is messenger RNA. And now what this mRNA will do, children? The mRNA, it will be this mRNA. The ribosome will be quickly reading, quickly decoding this message, and it will be converting that message into the protein. Okay, so this mRNA, it is caught by the ribosome, and now this mRNA, it is converted into the final product, that is the protein, reaching the ribosome. And when the ribosome it finds, okay, so mRNA with the help of ribosome, it will be producing the final product, that is protein required by the cell. So if you observe here, the DNA, I have told you, it is acting like a king. It is assigning duty to the ribosome. Ribosome is like a soldier. And how the message is passed? If the message is passed to the ribosome with the help of an RNA molecule, as it is acting like a messenger, we call this as mRNA. In short, that is messenger RNA. The full form is messenger RNA. And now, this messenger RNA, this can be read. This is a confidential information which is, let us say it is confidential information which is being generated by the DNA, which can be decoded or which can be translated by only eligible organelle of the cell, that is the ribosome. So now what this ribosome will do? This ribosome will get attached to the RNA molecule. It will be reading it continuously. It will be translating it. It will be decoding it to form the final product, that is the protein. So this is an actual process that is taking place in the protein synthesis of the ribosome. Then we have given some terms to this process. The first step in the formation of protein is formation of mRNA molecule from the DNA, and this first step is known as transcription. So what this is called as, children? The first step is known as transcription. This is very, very important. You have to follow this terms, children. The first step of the synthesis, the first step involved in the synthesis of protein is known as transcription. So what will happen in transcription? The DNA molecule, it will send a message to the ribosome through a molecule of RNA, which is known as mRNA, and this total process is known as transcription. So this is the first step. This is the first step involved in the protein synthesis. And what is the second step, children? This mRNA, it is identified by the ribosome present inside the cell cytoplasm, and this ribosome will be reading the message present in the RNA molecule, and this step where the protein is generated as the final product, and the second step of the protein synthesis where mRNA is converted into protein through ribosome is known as translation. What it is known as? Translation. So is it clear for you? The formation of mRNA molecule from the DNA is known as transcription. The formation of protein from the mRNA molecule, it is known as translation. And these are the two major steps of protein synthesis that are taking place with the help of the ribosome. And now let us see in which place this protein synthesis is taking place. Okay, let us see with the type of cells. We have only two type of cells. We have discussed eukaryotic cell and the prokaryotic cell. If you observe for the prokaryotic cell, I have told you before, there is no separate compartmentation of the DNA molecule. DNA, it is directly present inside the cell cytoplasm. You can see in the diagram, children, the cytoplasm is containing ribosomes as well as the DNA here. So the DNA, it releases the mRNA into cytoplasm, and the mRNA, it will be identified by the ribosome, and these ribosomes in turn produce the proteins inside the cell cytoplasm itself. So everything, the transcription and the translation, both are continuous, both are coupled here. Okay, so in prokaryotes, this is very important, children, regarding your NEET. This is important. There is a question given on the NEET, children. So in prokaryotes, we have two steps that I have told you in the protein synthesis, transcription as well as translation. Both transcription and translation, they will be taking place in the cytoplasm itself. Why? Because there is no compartmentation here. We don't have any separate nucleus. The DNA is directly present in the cytoplasm, so it will be releasing the mRNA. mRNA will be identified by ribosome to produce the protein. So this is a continuous process. And in the cytoplasm, these two steps, the transcription and the translation, they are said to be coupled. Means that they are simultaneous. Okay. So transcription and translation. Transcription and translation in prokaryotes, they are said to be coupled. Why they are coupled? Again, I am telling you, both the transcription translation will take place in the cytoplasm itself. Why? Because both are present directly in the cytoplasm. There is no compartmentation, there is no delay, and hence we call them as coupled process. Okay. Then what is the difference in the eukaryotic cell? I have told you before, the eukaryotic cell, we have nucleus inside which we have DNA. Then where is the ribosome, children? Ribosomes are present like this. Okay. So nucleus will produce the mRNA from the DNA, and this mRNA, it should escape this nuclear membrane, it should reach the cell cytoplasm, then it has to be identified by the ribosome, and later it will produce the protein. So there will be a little delay, and the transcription and translation are separate, it is not coupled. The compartmentation is present in the case of the eukaryotic cell. Why? Because here there is a nucleus. So first there will be production of mRNA from the DNA. This is transcription, and later this mRNA escapes the nuclear membrane, and then the ribosome will be attaching to this mRNA and it will decode the message to form the protein. So there it is not linked. Transcription and translation, they are not coupled or they are not linked. In eukaryotes, transcription and translation, they are not coupled. They are separate. Okay, this point you have to keep it in mind. This is very, very important. Okay, so this is regarding your ribosome, and we have discussed with the process of protein synthesis. In protein synthesis, we have discussed with the two major steps. One is transcription and there is a translation. Later we have discussed with the differences of this procedure in both prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Here it is. The process of protein synthesis, it is coupled, whereas in the case of eukaryotes, it is separate. It is not coupled. Okay. So today we'll end this lecture here. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment box. Please do like, share and subscribe, children. We will meet in the next video. Thank you.